Have you ever spot something in a theme park and thought, there's gotta be a story behind that? Well, you're in the right place. We're Amanda, Kevin, and Kim, the team behind Where in the Park, and we've spent years exploring the parks, creating seek and find games that uncover the details that most people miss. And now we're diving into the history, stories, and secrets behind those magical details. So grab your curiosity and maybe even a churro, and let's explore the parks together.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Where in the Park podcast. Today, we are going to be discussing Where in the Disneyland Park as we begin a new series all about the windows of Main Street, USA. As we go through today's episode, we'll be sharing some stories and details about the windows and who they are dedicated to. To see photos of the details we will be covering, head over to our Facebook group, Where in the Park Explorers. There, you can join the conversation and even share your own pictures and stories. The link is in the show notes below, or to the side, or wherever it might be located for you. If you want to see photos but aren't into Facebook, visit our website, whereinthepark.com/podcast, to find the blog posts for this episode and all other episodes that we've recorded. Before we start today, let's say hi to the rest of the team.
Hello.
That's right. We have Kim over here. She says hello. Also, there's Amanda.
Hello, everyone.
All right. We are the Where in the Park team. If you have not heard of Where in the Park, we make self-paced seek and find games that highlight the details in the theming of theme parks. Each game pack comes with a deck of cards. Each card has an image, and that image is found somewhere in the park. The question is, where in the park? We have several games out there for many theme parks. I think last count was 18. Who knows? It could be 20 by now by the time you're listening to this. We keep adding more. So be sure to head over to our website, that's whereinthepark.com, and use code podcast10 to take 10% off your next adventure. Now, with all of that out of the way, like I said, we will be learning about a few of the windows on Main Street in this episode. For anyone listening who doesn't know what I'm talking about, at every Disney park with a castle, there's a street that you walk down after you enter the park, usually named Main Street, USA, and the windows on these buildings sometimes have references to jobs that people might have in a real Main Street. But the names shown refer to people who are important to the Disney park they are found in. So join us as we enter the turnstiles of the original Disneyland park today. Amanda, what do you have for us?
All right, so let's start with the very first window on the left side of Town Square at Disneyland. So as you go under the train station archway on the left, you'll find a gift shop, the guided tours courtyard, and then a brick building with beige and cream trim, some stone archways, and a blue door with blue framed windows. And this building is connected to the left of City Hall. So if you got to the entrance of City Hall, you've gone too far. Backtrack with me a little bit. This window is on the right of the door of this facade, and it contains two window panes, one right above the other, dedicated to a pivotal man in the founding of Disneyland where we know it today. So the top of the window pane reads, founded 1955. And then there's a blue ribbon scroll that says, Price is Right Land Company. Call our numbers man for the best price. And then in between Price is Right is what looks to be a piece of fabric stretched in all four corners. And it has a sketch outline of North America, the continuous 48 states. And it has two darts with bullseyes and the words Anaheim and Orlando. And then the second window pane underneath the first says Harrison Buzz Price, founder and finder. And then there's another blue ribbon scroll that reads, We never say no. Yes makes more sense. And that is CENTS as in money, not SENSE as in that makes sense. It's a clever tribute that, like many Main Street windows we'll be talking about, it blends humor with legacy. We see yes makes more sense because Buzz knew that saying yes if was a winning negotiation tactic instead of no because. And this strategy led to more contracts and agreements to move forward with projects. So The Price is Right is obviously a play on Buzz's last name, but also a nod to the man who crunched the numbers that led to Anaheim becoming the home of Disneyland. So in the early 1950s, Buzz was part of the Stanford Research Institute as a research economist. And around this time, as Disney park fans know, Walt Disney had a dream to build a theme park. But before he could build it, he needed a location and he needed proof that it would work. Walt and his brother Roy contracted Buzz to run a feasibility study and site analysis for where the best place for this new Disneyland project would be. Walt was thinking about Burbank, but was open to explore any and all possibilities to determine the best location. And after some digging and some research, Buzz focused on Orange County. He was looking at accessibility to new freeways, the current and projected population sizes, some climate factors, etc. And eventually, Buzz, Walt, and Roy settled on 160 acres of orange groves in Anaheim, California, which, as we know, is where Disneyland is located today. Walt encouraged Buzz to start his own firm, and in 1958, Buzz founded the Economic Research Associates, or ERA. Walt had agreed to a 3-year contract with him, which would expand over time as Buzz became Walt's go-to numbers man for everything from Disneyland expansion plans to the choosing of Walt Disney World and Epcot centers in Florida. And in 1966, just a month prior to Walt's death, Walt personally appointed Buzz to oversee the California Institute of the Arts, or Cal Arts, in Valencia, where Buzz was a dedicated trustee for over 30 years. Buzz would work on over 150 projects for the Walt Disney Company, including involvement in the 64-65 World's Fair in New York, site selection and feasibility for Tokyo Disneyland, and even the location for Walt's Mineral King project, which was a Swiss-themed ski resort that would be near Sequoia National Park in California. This project was halted after Walt's passing, but it's still cool to know that he helped in that project. His numerous non-Disney projects included master planning of 8 World's Fairs and was the site and economic feasibility studies director for Six Flags, Busch Gardens, and SeaWorld parks. He was also a consultant for Universal Studios and with their partnership conducted feasibility studies for many projects, including City Walk and the Review Studio Tour, including the use of the tram vehicles. And this, of course, is what we know as the world-famous Universal Studios tour that we know today. So that is really cool that he has had a hand in many theme park projects around the world. In 1994, the Themed Entertainment Association, or TEA, awarded Buzz the first ever Thea Lifetime Achievement Award, which was renamed to the Buzz Price Thea Award in his honor. In 2003, Buzz wrote in his autobiography, Walt's Revolution by the Numbers, and was named a Disney legend that same year. And lastly, in April 2010, just 4 months before he passed away, he received his window on Main Street, USA. So I love that his window is the first one on the left as you enter Disneyland. In doing this research, I found several sources in which Buzz is quoted as saying, "Dreams without a way of measuring their value are just dreams." And yes, Disneyland was Walt's original concept, but without Buzz Price, there might not even be a Disneyland. And if so, it probably wouldn't be in Anaheim. They might all have just continued to be Walt's dream that didn't come to fruition. So Buzz saw the value of Walt's dream and helped make it a reality by choosing the best location. But he wasn't the only difference maker. Let's continue our walk into Town Square and learn more about the dedicated windows next door. Kim, who's mentioned there?
The next window is for Marty Sklar, and it reads, I somniate, I'd beside, Main Street, College of the Arts and Sciences, established in 1852, Martin A. Sklar, Dean, inspiring the dreamers and doers of tomorrow. This is a very special window to me because Marty's probably my most favorite Imagineer out of all of them next to Walt. The I'd somniate, I'd the sight means dream it, do it, which has been Marty's philosophy for years and is the name of his 2013 autobiography. Marty's dedication window is located on the second floor on the left side of the Disneyland City Hall in Town Square, which is part of the office he once occupied. It was added when Marty retired on July 17th in 2009. The City Hall building itself has been at the park since the opening day on July 17th, 1955, and it was originally home to the Disneyland Publicity Department, but now houses guest relations and Main Street operations offices. I encourage you to go in there when you can, because there's some amazing pictures on the walls of the history. And if you have a chance to talk with any of the cast members that are there, you can get a plethora of history all in itself, and the stories are amazing. The windows have a couple of ribbons with text on them. In the center, on the top of the ribbon, it has a triangle with a circle in front of it, and it has a calligraphy pen and a paintbrush. And in the center of the circle, there's an M and an S that overlap each other, which most likely stands for Main Street first and then Marty Sklar second. The estimation of the year of 1852 might be a nod to WED Enterprises being founded in 1952. But let's hear a little bit about Marty's journey here. He began at Disneyland before he even graduated from UCLA. Imagine a young student still in college landing a dream job, really, in Disneyland at Publicity's department. Marty was hired to write the Disneyland News, which was a paper sold on Main Street. This was just the beginning of his remarkable career. After returning to school in 1955, Marty didn't stay away from Disneyland for long. Shortly after graduation, he rejoined the publicity department, ready to make his mark. But it was in 1961 that Marty took a significant step forward. He joined WED Enterprises and created a powerhouse behind Disney's attractions to work on the 1964 and 1965 New York World's Fair. Despite being the youngest member of Disney's hand-picked creative team, Marty's talents quickly shone through. He became Walt Disney's literary right-hand man for the Disneyland parks. From crafting annual reports and messages to creating publicity and marketing materials, Marty was instrumental in shaping Disney's experience. He even prepared presentations for sponsors of the yet unopened Walt Disney World. In 1974, Marty became the creative lead of Imagineering, helping develop Disney-themed parks around the world for the next 35 years. His contributions were invaluable in the creative development of Epcot, Tokyo Disney, the Disney MGM Studios, Disneyland Paris, Disney's Animal Kingdom, Disney's California Adventure Park, Tokyo Disney Sea, the Walt Disney Studio Park, and Hong Kong Disneyland. In 1995, he was awarded the Buzz Price Theo Award, the second person to receive it after Buzz Price himself, which Amanda talked about earlier. In 2001, Marty was recognized as a Disney legend. In February 2006, he became the Imagineering Ambassador for Parks and Resorts. Marty considered his 3 years and 5 months as Executive Vice President of Parks and Resorts and Imagineering Ambassador among the most important of his 54 years with the company. He retired on July 17, 2009, Disneyland's 54th birthday. After 54 years with Disney, Marty was honored with a window on Main Street in Disneyland, adding to the windows with his names in Florida, Paris, and Hong Kong. Marty was the only Disney employee to participate in the opening of all 12 Disney parks around the world. Even though he had already retired, he still attended the opening of Shanghai Disney in June of 2016. I found an interesting fact from Marty Sklar himself, who wrote the foreword in a Chuck Snyder book, Windows on Main Street. In 2008, it was proposed that a window would be made for him at Disneyland. However, this created a bit of a predicament. There's very clear rules about windows at Disneyland, and Marty was responsible for enforcing them. The rules are 1, only retired employees, 2, only the highest level of service, respect, and achievement, and 3, agreements between individual park management and Walt Disney Imagineering. Well, Marty was still working as the Executive Vice President of Park and Resorts and Imagineering Ambassador at Disney in 2008. So when the window was offered, Marty respectfully declined. But Marty already had windows at Disneyland Paris, Hong Kong Disneyland, and the Magic Kingdom, which he shared with others who were instrumental in the creation of those parks. Some articles have mentioned his name on windows at those other parks before his retirement as a relaxation of the rules, but There is an OC Register YouTube video from 2015 from Marty himself explaining that Disneyland's original windows were done for the people who created and opened the parks. With all three of the parks where his name had been put on windows, he was pivotal in the creation and opening, so it actually makes sense that he would be on their windows on their opening days. But Marty's window is not the only one on City Hall building. Kevin's going to tell us all about it.
That's right. The last window that we will be talking about is also found on a second floor window of City Hall, opposite Marty Sklar's, and it belongs to a man named Jack Lindquist. The window reads, J.B. Lindquist, Honorary Mayor of Disneyland, Jack of all trades, Master of fun. The window doesn't really have any unique ornamentation on it, with the words framed in an ornate border instead, and the word honorary in a green banner across its center. The way it says Jack of all trades, I'm guessing, is referring to how his name is Jack, and it doesn't say Jack in the actual window here. It says JB, just his first two initials instead. As for Jack Lindquist, he retired as president of Disneyland on October 18th, 1993, and received this window on Mickey Mouse's 65th birthday a month later on November 18th. For anyone wondering, Mickey's official birthday is November 18th, 1928, and that was designated by the late Disney archivist Dave Smith, which is the date that Steamboat Willie debuted back in 1928. So even though it's the last window we're covering today, it was actually the first of the three to be put into the park chronologically. Now, Jack Lindquist was originally hired as Disneyland's first advertising manager in September 1955, about 2 months after the park opened. Years earlier, he had been a child actor, mostly as a background character. If you check his IMDb page, you'll see about 36 movies between 1936 and 1948, but most of them are marked as uncredited. His father was a manager of a lumber department at a motion picture studio. I'm not sure which one, it doesn't really say anywhere. And if you look at the posters for all those IMDb entries, they're for various studios. So you have Columbia and Universal, RKO. So he worked all over the place. So he definitely wasn't part of the system. He just kind of did background stuff while he was a child. But as far as an adult, when he became an adult, he was working for an advertising company in Los Angeles. And one of their clients was Kelvinator. Now, Kelvinator was a brand of appliances, which a year earlier in 1954, well, its parent company, Nash, merged with Hudson. If you're a fan of the Disney Pixar Cars movie, that's the same Hudson that the character Doc Hudson is named after. He's actually a stylized version of a real-life car named the Hudson Hornet. So I bring all of that up because that merger made Kelvinator a brand owned by the then newly formed American Motors Corporation, which was an early sponsor of Disneyland. When Lindquist learned about this in April of 1955, he reached out to his contacts at Kelvinator asking if they would be interested in him trying to create an ad campaign and promotion involving Disneyland with their appliances. And they were all for it. So he called the Disney studios and a meeting was scheduled to speak with the manager of Disneyland's public relations division, Bud Colson. That meeting took place at Disneyland while it was still being built. In his autobiography, In Service of the Mouse, Lindquist describes this experience as a long drive from Los Angeles to Anaheim, ending at an unpaved road that led to a plywood shack with a security officer, who then directed him to an unmarked farmhouse about 50 yards away, which was still surrounded by orange groves. This farmhouse apparently served as the Disneyland Administration Building until 1964, but on that day in April of 1955, it's where Bud Colson's office was located. When Lindquist arrived, he was informed that Colson wouldn't be available for at least 30 minutes, but he was invited to look around the park as long as he didn't get in anyone's way. And he said sure. And he walked around the town square area of Disneyland, and he described what he saw there as about 70% complete. So Main Street USA had a real fairy tale castle under construction at the end of the road, and he was all for it. Like, as soon as he saw it, he was like, this is the moment where I understand Walt's vision. Like, this isn't a regular amusement park. This is something else. I actually saw a YouTube video with Jack Lindquist describing this moment. He does talk about how the term theme park hadn't been coined yet. So they weren't actually sure how to refer to this park back then when it was first being built. It was an article that came out later where the reporter said theme park instead of amusement park, and everyone went with it. And all amusement parks after that date were theme parks. So anyway, continuing. Eventually, he did speak with Coulson, and Lindquist proposed having customers receive a package of ride tickets for various Disneyland attractions when they purchased Kelvinator appliances. Coulson liked the idea, but needed approval from the director of public relations, Ed Edinger. Long story, slightly shorter. After some back and forth, everything was approved. Lindquist went to work creating the ads that would run in every local paper advertising this promotion, and had everything set to running the ads on July 18th, which is when the park was scheduled to open to the public. But then he received a phone call telling him that the promotion couldn't go ahead because Walt Disney decided that there shouldn't be any Disneyland promotions other than what Disney was doing. Lindquist did not back down, though. He describes a meeting with Ed Edinger where they called each other names and questioned how they were raised and whatever else qualified as trash talk back in 1955. But eventually, there was a compromise made, and the promotion was allowed to run starting in early August, which is when Kelvinator ran the first ever third-party promotion of Disneyland. The following month, after not hearing from Coulson or Edinger since they allowed the promotion to run a few months earlier, Ed Edinger called Lindquist asking if he could help him find someone to be Disneyland's first advertising manager. Lindquist said that he was interested in the job, and Edinger said he was hoping that he would be. So he interviewed with Edinger and then met with then Disney company advertising manager Card Walker, and obviously the interview went well. Well enough, at least. That on September 26, 1955, Lindquist started working at Disneyland, where he worked in an office in the publicity department, which, as Kim mentioned, was located on the second floor of City Hall. In his autobiography, he talks about his first day of work and meeting with his new coworkers, including Marty Sklar. During his 38 years at Disney, he created promotional material for Disneyland and later every new Disney park until Disneyland Paris. He contributed in the creation of Disney Dollars, the Ambassador Program, and Grad Nights. In 1957, he came up with the idea of selling tickets for special events in advance for Disneyland's first New Year's Eve celebration. So for anyone listening who has been in one of those queue it lines all day for an event taking place months in the future, you can thank Jack for that. Lindquist was quoted saying, "In those days, nobody sold advance tickets. If you wanted a ticket, you went to the venue the day of the event." I looked it up, and advance ticket sales, they'd been available for baseball and football and Broadway shows since at least the 1920s. But it would still be about a decade before Ticketron, the precursor to Ticketmaster, was created. So I don't know if he came up with the idea on his own or if he had been to a game or show and was inspired by them. Either way, advance ticket sales were much less common if they did already exist. Beyond that, he would also lobby for expansions of Disneyland, as well as the development of a second theme park. And in 1965, he was promoted to director of marketing and later became vice president of marketing. That was for Disneyland and Walt Disney World at that point in time. It was after Walt Disney World was created. Then he became vice president of marketing for Walt Disney Attractions after they added Tokyo Disney. Because again, just whenever they added a new park somewhere else, they just made him a new title so that he would still be in charge of it. Eventually becoming the executive vice president of marketing and entertainment for all Disney's outdoor recreation activities. I don't know if that was specifically because of the cruise lines or not, but they gave him charge of all activities that Disney was running. In 1988, Michael Eisner appointed him as Disneyland's very first president. In 1994, he received his Disney Legend Award about a year after retiring and receiving his window. He published his autobiography, which again is entitled In Service of the Mouse, in 2010. Now, for anyone out there fact-checking our dates, I do want to point out that his retirement date and the year he became president of Disneyland are often stated with different dates depending on where you look. There is a D23.com entry about Jack Lindquist that states that he retired on November 18th, 1993 instead of October 18th, while another entry also on D23.com mentions he was honored with a window at Disneyland on that date in November, quote, soon after his retirement. But that entry that qualifies his retirement as before November also states that he became president in 1990 instead of 1988. We stated October 18th in 1988 because that is what Lindquist put in his autobiography. He does mention early in his book that while writing the book at age 83, some of his dates might be wrong. So if you know that one is more correct than the other, please let us know. After leaving Disney at the end of 1993, he went on to found a marketing consulting firm, the Lindquist Group. If you look up the name, the Lindquist Group, there is a staffing company that still exists, but it predates Jack's company. If you have any details on what work was done by Jack Lindquist's group, please let us know. Continuing though, he was entered into the IAAPA Hall of Fame in 2015 before passing away of natural causes on February 28th, 2016, at the age of 88. For those wondering about the B on the window for J.B. Lindquist, his middle name was Bernard, which was also his father's first name. So I want to wrap up today's episode before we do our official closing with a quote from Jack Lindquist from Walt Disney World's 40th anniversary celebration back in 2011, where he said the following about Marty Sklar. Marty was always a big troublemaker. He'd bring water guns to work, and right there in our offices above City Hall in Disneyland, we'd have shootouts. Either that, or he was always throwing footballs around the place. But yeah, so I like the way that he had this quote where it just kind of makes him feel like they were there. They were kids, kind of. I mean, he was 28 when he started. Marty was right out of college. And they really started at Disney, and they had really long careers there. And City Hall makes sense why their windows are both there, 100%, because that's where they started, was on that second floor where their windows are today. Before I finish, I also want to talk about City Hall real fast. Many people say that the City Hall design was created by Imagineer Harper Goff based on the old Larimer County Courthouse that was in Fort Collins, Colorado, which was built in 1888 and demolished in 1957. There's a forum post on Mice Chat from 2006 that points out that it actually looks more like the Bay County Courthouse in Bay City, Michigan, which was listed in a Bicknell's Victorian Buildings catalog that would have been available to Harper Goff back in the mid-50s. But it also looks similar to the Ouray County Courthouse that is still standing in Ouray, Colorado, which was also built in 1888 and is still being used as a courthouse today. We'll put photos and old paintings of all three on our Facebook group and blog posts so you can see what they look like and let us know what you think.
All right. Well, that was just the first 3 windows along Main Street. As any Disney theme park goer knows, there are many more windows to explore. So this is just the first episode in a series that we'll do over time. There's lots more to explore around the Disney parks, of course. So we'll be throwing those things in there as well, but then also going through and talking more about the windows as we go along. So if there is a particular window that you have your eyes on and you want to know more about that person or a particular detail on the windows, definitely let us know. You can reach out to us in our absolutely free Facebook group, Where in the Park Explorers, or you can DM us at Where in the Park, and we can chat in there as well. If you have enjoyed this episode, then do us a solid. Scroll down on your podcast player and give us a 5-star rating. And if you have 20 seconds, leave us a review. It's super fast and it just tells Apple and Spotify and all the players that we're doing something awesome. Real quick before we head out, I wanted to read a review that we received from Disney Dude! ! He says, amazing, with 2 exclamation points and 5 stars. Says, this is such a great show and it will be so much fun to learn all of the amazing details. He's absolutely right. And if you agree with him, then share this episode and this podcast out with your friends and fellow theme park goers. Leave us a rating and review if you have 30 seconds to spare. It really, really goes a long way. And it just gives us the feedback that we're doing something awesome. Links to everything are in the show notes. Again, our Facebook group is in there. Our blog is in there. So if you want to see the photos that we're talking about or learn more about the details, maybe some things that we didn't cover that we wanted to expand upon in our blog, whereinthepark.com/podcast, get everything right there. So until next time, we'll see you somewhere in the park. Bye for now.
Thanks for exploring with us today. If you're ready to take your park experience to the next level, check out our Where in the Park games. They're self-paced seek and find adventures designed to help you explore the parks in a whole new way, whether you're visiting for a birthday, a family gathering, a date night, or even a solo trip. You won't find our images on rides, in lines, or inside shops or restaurants. or just out in the open as you wander around the park. Get ready to experience a deeper appreciation for your favorite theme parks. Head over to whereinthepark.com and use code PODCAST10 to take 10% off your next adventure. Until next time, we'll see you somewhere in the park.